Welcome to HortTube. My name is Jim Putnam. This is the weekly landscape update video that I do here in Raleigh, North Carolina, Zone 7B. Feel free to follow along for this project. It's been going on a little over 2 years at this point. Most of this front garden space is 18 months or so. There was a large maple originally planted, or originally in the front garden here, that was diseased. It had to come out. The stump was ground. There was some period of time before things started actually happening in this front garden space, but you can see it now. About 18 months in, things are really starting to fill in and take off. This street area, this fence was put in last summer, and the street area has really started to fill in. It's very welcoming. There is a agastache in front of the camera now that bees are just all over. It's definitely agastache season. Just over to the right of that is something kind of funny. There's a topiary aster created by a rabbit. Rabbit can't reach the top of it, so I think it's one of the best topiaries I have in the landscape currently. Was done by a rabbit, so I find that kind of interesting. This has been the best vinca season. This is annual vinca that are out here. These were actually bought at the last minute because there were a few holes in the landscape. Most of the annuals that are planted in this landscape are done from seed. I like to do things inexpensively, but this was a couple trays of vinca that were bought kind of last minute that were to fill in some open space, waiting for some shrubs to fill in, that kind of thing. But they look absolutely fantastic. And moving further up, one of the things you'll see here that's kind of deliberate was there's a couple things on each side of the fence that's slightly taller than the fence. And so this Caryopteris is meant to be the tall feature here, the dogwood, and then further down, I got a baby bird right here. Well, it's not a fledgling bird right here on the top of the fence. Flies better than I thought it did. And then there's a hibiscus a little further down. So there's 3 tall things on this side of the fence spaced apart. And then on the side that Steph is on with the camera, there's a Verbena bonariensis and a couple of coneflowers and other things that are allowed to be taller on the other side of the fence. So they don't necessarily line up with the things on this side. So if you stand on that side of the fence where the camera is and look back this way, there's the occasional thing coming up over the fence. And if you stand on my side looking back that way, there's the occasional thing coming up on the other side of the fence. And so, you know, they kind of rotate. But it allows you to still see the fence, but it's a very full look.
So right now we're in front of the sort of the frisbee hibiscus that we have in the back. We've got black-eyed Susan vine here. We put it up the electrical line. There are 2 of them, and I think one is coming out of the giant butterfly bush, but the other one is coming up the wire like we had wanted it to, and it's quite beautiful. I just wanted to quickly point out that we still have, oddly enough, some dianthus that was here for the winter is still making a good splash of front color for us. As we move on towards the center of this bed, we've got an anemone. It's kind of early, like so much that the Caryopteris is still is already blooming, and then we have this anemone. It's either it's kiss me softly, kiss me sweetly, something about darn it, just kiss me. But it's a great anemone, and it's about to be on fire with color. Finally, some of the asters that we started from seed are producing some flowers, so I'm so excited. They should sort of be whites and pinks and purples, and they're spread amongst the flower border in the front landscape. A few things to talk about. I know we always bring up these darn gomphrena that are supposed to be sort of like a brilliant pink that are not. But you know, they're still doing fine, and they're certainly very strong plants. So they're making a statement in and of themselves. But behind them, we have this celosia called flamingo purple. It is gorgeous. Maybe a little taller than I really wanted, but it's still beautiful. And in the right place, it makes a great statement. I fully expect next year, being a celosia, they will be popping out everywhere. And fortunately or unfortunately, we've come to the point where we're having to pull out celosia plants here and there that have sort of taken control. Check it out, we just found a pink gomphrena. This is what it was supposed to be, and there's one here as well. You can tell, I mean, look at the difference. It's very distinctively not what we wanted, but we did get a couple. We do see that a lot of our summer and late summer perennials are starting to really make a statement, like the Mexican sage here. It's going to be blooming those great purple blooms. In about a month or so, I guess it'll start, unless it's early like everything else is doing this year. And then in the back, we have a golden pineapple sage that we planted last year, not hardy, and it's come back and is in brilliant form. I expect that to be wonderful and beautiful in about a month.
One of the other fall blooming anemones, which has just absolutely taken over this space. This was another one of those plants that was shared from a neighbor's landscape. I really like those kinds of plants. You know, there's a lot of those things in the landscape, and going forward, because this landscape is so full now, for this garden is so full, I really want plants to have a story. And so, you know, any time it can be that. So we'll see that we'll start to see these anemones open over the next week or two. I want to also point out that there are lots of dahlias over by the vegetable garden, but I had so many of the seedling dahlias this year that some were planted along the fence on this the neighbor side over here. And so these are all interesting seedlings. A couple of them have finally started to bloom. There's not a whole lot of sun here, so you can see they've stretched up 5 feet in height before we had a flower on them, but both of these are super interesting flowers. There's several more to come, so we'll see those over the next few weeks, but beautiful. One of the things in an upcoming video is a few of my container plants. I have 2 palms and my contorted Japanese maple. I'm about to put them in the ground. That's going to be in an upcoming video. So these ones that have been in these decorative containers for a couple of years, they're ready to be out of the containers into either larger containers or go in the ground. So that's what's going to happen, and we'll repurpose some of these beautiful containers that I have from Michael Carr. There's a couple of agapanthus in front of me. This is Everwhite. This one's a Southern Living Plant Collection one. This one's very reliable in this landscape. There are several planted throughout. And what you'll see with some of these new agapanthus is, in the past, they kind of all bloomed out at once. And so we had a couple flower spikes on them, and these are immature plants, and this is normally what you would have gotten on them. But these continue to shoot up flower spikes. So I can take this and cut it down, which I need to do, and then these new flower spikes will take their place. The reason that these are really hardy in Zone 7 is because they do a good job of dying completely back to the ground. That's kind of important with agapanthus. Next to that is the Touch of Gold holly. And for 2 years in a row, that Touch of Gold holly had something laying over on it that kept it from being gold. And I've protected it this year and allowed the sunlight to be on it. Touch of Gold is a gold Hugendorn holly. Hugendorn is a Japanese holly, so Ilex crenata. Hugendorn holly was always one of my absolute favorite hollies. And I just didn't sell many of them. Everybody wanted Soft Touch or Hellerai or some of the other dwarfs. And they just didn't know about Hugendorn. And so I'm excited by that Touch of Gold being a Hugendorn and people being excited about it, because I know that that is a very tough plant in the landscape. I think it's tougher than Soft Touch and tougher than Hellerai as well. And this is a beautiful gold version of it. You can probably tell the garden is going to need a little bit of tough love before the season is over. Either annuals are going to have to be reduced in order to save some of the perennials that were planted behind them. As an example, behind this celosia, the flamingo celosia, here's a coneflower that's going to come back year to year. like Steph said, the celosia is probably going to come back year to year as well, but not from the same plant. It'll be from seed. So I'm going to have to do a little bit of tough love on some things, and some shrubs that are behind me. That'll be in videos. One more of the hybrid dahlias has opened up right here. This is Bluebird, really beautiful variety. I've had a couple of these over the years. This one has jumped up, and it's so sturdy that it will likely come back in my landscape. Here in Zone 7B, dahlias are marginal, whether they'll come back year to year. I can kind of look at, I've gotten to the point now where the most vigorous ones with the kind of thickest, almost woody basis to them, I can tell those are the ones that are going to come back, and that one seems like it'll be one of those. Here's the contorted Japanese maple that's been in this. I've had this in this container over 10 years. It's been in various containers, but again, I think it's time to put it in the ground. It'll go somewhere in this general area. I haven't decided exactly where it's going in the ground, but you guys will see that video when it happens. Underneath that, I wanted to point out these Mojo Pittosporum. They just continue to amaze me. I mean, look how tall this is. This is only 12 inches tall, 3 feet wide. It's been growing vigorously. All three of them have been growing vigorously for 2 seasons. It looks fantastic in this part shade. It's such a bright pop of color. I've got it planted with some rhodia, some annual impatiens, some perennial purple ajuga over to the right. That purple ajuga and this Mojo Pittosporum together, just fantastic. But this is evergreen, and this is as tall as it's gotten in 2 years. This is one of the longer planted things in the landscape.
Not that long ago, Jim did an update about the containers, and honestly, we skipped this one because it had not performed the way I thought it would. The contrast of texture and the gorgeous complementary colors, I thought it'd be gorgeous, but it really hadn't done a whole lot. But now, after we went away for 10 days, we came back and it's just gorgeous. It's filled out and it has wonderful, wonderful components. We started with a serendipity magnolia. Now it hadn't really grown a ton. I imagine next year in the container it will be just perfect, but it still has a great texture in it. And it is flanked by euphorbia, this really wonderful vinca, which seems to, as much as I really have never been a huge vinca fan, this year is vinca year. They have been fabulous. And the euphorbia, if I didn't mention that, we also have a repurposed Tradescantia, the Purple Heart, I guess it's called. We got that out of other containers and have spread that into here. Also, we have this right here. I just sort of found that made it through the winter outside. It's a Dracaena that is starting to come to itself, but needs a little TLC maybe to even be bigger. And then we have other purple components. Just a beautiful container that started off really slowly.
It's definitely full-on dahlia season at this point. This is the side of the vegetable garden where the other seedling dahlias are, and you can see the bees. Some of them will sleep on it. They just stay here. They stay here overnight. I should honestly charge them rent. But you'll see there are not two flowers in this section that are the same. These were all. I'm going to talk through the flower types in a video coming up, because actually each of these flowers, not all of them, but these flowers can be described as semi-doubles and different. I'll go through it in one of the videos and just tell you what the flower types are named. Lettuce has finally come to seed. It's almost August. I've been waiting for this to flower, but it's finally flowered out. The seed is pretty close to being ready, and literally I'm just going to take the seed from this lettuce and very quickly grow new lettuce. Fall vegetable seed will be done around August 15th, something like that. You guys will see those videos, but some of the seed will come from the early spring vegetables that I had out here that have finally come to seed. Generally speaking, this is a little quicker than this. It's been a strange year. It was kind of a cool spring and then an ultra hot summer, as many of you watching have known. But it delayed some spring things and it has sprung ahead some fall things. It's really odd. This vegetable garden is completely out of control. I just want to go on record as saying that this is a complete mess. There's a ton of produce out here. There's, from zucchini, squash, cucumbers, tomatoes, okra now is ready. It's just completely out of control. You go away 10 days on a vegetable garden in the peak of summer, get 3 or 4 thunderstorms while you're gone, and it was already on the verge of not really having control. and this is kind of what happens. So a little control has to be added to this space. There's a little weeding to do. But overall, I'm excited. Everything is thriving in here. There's a couple little issues, foliar issues I see on some things. I ignore those. I don't care. I'm not going to stress over it. And I've got a few things growing on my peppers that need to be removed. But overall, this is a very good year for the vegetable garden as it stands right now. And honestly, just kind of over the top, out of control. So this is a grapevine aphid update. I showed last week, I was showing several problems in the landscape, and I'm doing that in this video too. You've seen rabbit damage. You've seen there's some foliar issues on my cucumbers over there. But I'm actually showing you that 1 week later, after I showed the aphids on the grapevine, that they have vanished. I don't know what took them. I don't know what got them. I don't know why they're gone, but they're gone. There's still a couple ants on there. They're confused as well as to where the aphids went, but maybe a thunderstorm washed them off. I have no idea, but they're gone. And so I simply waited it out. The plant wasn't being hurt by them anyway. So interesting. So there's a brief look into the garden here in just past mid-July at this point. Again, by mid-August, I'll be doing some fall vegetable seeds. I'll be collecting some seed. You'll see me collecting some Dahlia seed. There'll be videos for all of these things. And there'll also be videos on kind of taming the landscape just a bit as things are really, really filling in during the summer months. I've been just super lucky. I have to say overall, I know that many of you out there have really struggled out in the, with 100-degree temperatures this entire summer and very little rainfall. That's kind of how it felt like we were going to be in June. And we're still muggy and super hot here, but we're fortunate enough to have gotten a few storms at this point that have really, really helped my landscape out. So I do feel for you, definitely out there. I hope you get some rain. I hope the temperatures moderate for you. So thanks for following along.